My voice.
Black girl, white skin. Hello world, my name is Regina Mary and welcome to another beautiful episode of My Voice Albinism, the new era, all the way from the United States of America. Our beautiful, beautiful author Natalie DeVoe is with us in South Africa in studio, coming to join us on My Voice to share her story, her journey, and her beautiful book, Black Girl, White Skin. Hello world, my name is Regina Mary again. Help me welcome Natalie DeVoe into the show. Natalie, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm so excited. How are you? Welcome to My Voice. Thank you. Have a seat, please. Wow, so Natalie's hosting us. You know, we're not exactly in studio, she's hosting us, so thank you so much. But welcome to South Africa, and thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to have you on My Voice Albinism, the new era.
Well, I am truly, truly appreciative to be able to be here. We're so happy to be here in South Africa and to be able to talk with you and about writing and about albinism is so exciting.
Wow, I'm still like got goosebumps. Exactly. So Natalie, we've got this like one rule which we have on the show. We just need to know, why did you accept our invitation to be on the show?
Oh, well, I believe in saying yes.
Okay.
Some people are very timid and are afraid to say yes. And that, for me, it takes away an opportunity to be able to express who I am in the world and to share my work. So I believe in saying yes when presented with an invitation or an opportunity.
Amazing, thank you so much. So Natalie, our show is very open, and I really, really want to accommodate everybody everywhere around the world, even people who cannot read or write, but one day they'll have a chance to watch this. So Natalie, I'm in South Africa and you are American.
Yes.
And you have albinism.
I do.
And you're not in Africa, but you have albinism. I just want to make that clear for the world to know that we are everywhere. Just to make it clear, please,
absolutely.
Would you just enlighten us about that?
So, you know, the albinism, I think the key thing about albinism is that what people don't understand is that it does happen everywhere, in every culture, and in the United States is not as prevalent. It's like 1 per 20,000 people in the United States across every different ethnic and cultural group.
And the name is still the same?
Yes, it's still albinism.
Okay.
And though there are different types of albinism.
Right.
Right.
Oh, okay. And the word albino, how does it refer to in your country? In South Africa, with the different guests I've had, it's rhetorical, it's discriminative. So I just wanted to know from across the world, how is albino and albinism intertwined together?
Well, honestly, I think it depends on a few factors. One is age of the person. The younger generations, say under 30, are much more interested in having it be albinism.
Right.
And it's a personal preference with people who are older to say, you know, some people self-identify as albino, you know, or albino, you know.
Oh, right, okay. I thought it was a slang, albino.
Albino,
Okay.
you know. But, you know, for me, because my work, I've been in other parts of the world and other parts of Africa as well, to have a better awareness of the sensitivity and to realize that I am not my condition, that I am a person affected with a condition.
Right. So before we just get into more about who you are, what you do, just tell us a bit more about albinism in the United States. In Africa, I am referred to as a curse, a blessing. I can cure HIV and AIDS, I've got magic powers, I have lucky charms. So you find that sometimes people touch you and say, let's go play the lucky game, the lottery game. So, and then each different African country has a whole different book about albinism, you know. In Zambia, when they see a person with albinism, they spit so they don't get a child like that. But this is Africa, so I just wanted to know across the world, how is it like?
Well, I think again it varies. You know, certainly I think there's still some of the stigma
Right.
that happens, and it's that what people don't understand. They choose to have a negative judgment about. You know, I think for some people they really learn to overcome the shock of having a child born with albinism fairly quickly.
Right.
And in the United States now, there's so much more information available, and people are quickly enfolded into supportive services,
Okay.
you know. And even with education for children, it's so much better now than when I was growing up,
Okay.
you know. So there's all kinds of, we call them accommodations, and so ways that children are given extra time for examinations, or they're given iPads to work on. They have all kinds of equipment that are used in the classroom for students to be able to participate.
Amazing, amazing. But there's no any killings.
No, there are no killings in the United States. There's I think some of the biggest things that happen, especially being Black American
Right.
with albinism, is that people don't always understand, and then they make they make a judgment, or they just say, oh, well, you're not one of us, you know. Or in my case, because I have a form of albinism, OCA1, which is more prevalent amongst Caucasian people, and so frequently people will try to figure me out, you know, like, well, are you, you know, and frequently people, you know, we form opinions of people just by looking at them, and so people will just assume that I'm white,
Okay, so.
and, you know, and I'm not, you know, but
And do you know how many types of albinism there are?
oh my gosh, it changes. So I believe there are at least 6 or 7 different types of albinism.
Really? I heard 13 and I heard 11.
Oh
but
my gosh.
This
well,
is why we're here. So
This is why we're here. See, we'll have to, you know, there's the scientists, the geneticists are always learning more
Right.
about albinism. And certainly in the United States, you know, there's a huge community with the nonprofit of the National Organization for Albinism and Hypopigmentation, or
Right.
NOAA. And we have a conference every 2 years, a big national conference for families, for individuals, for everyone. And there are usually over 1,000 people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully my voice can come through one day and tell the world about the NOAA and
Yeah.
what you guys do. So I hope you'll be watching this. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. We just had to get that out of the way.
Absolutely.
You know, are there any beliefs, like any beliefs of lucky charm or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
Not to my knowledge.
So it's just the color thing.
It's the color thing, and you know, it's usually race in the United States is very complex, you know, and so even amongst other Blacks, other African American people, there can be discrimination toward me or toward someone else with albinism.
Right.
You know, so, you know, it's more about that, and are you, you know, and I talk about this in my book, like, are you Black enough, you know?
Yes,
You know.
you're Black enough.
Are you Black enough, you know? So I'd say those are the things that you come up against with cultural stigma, cultural bullying, if you will, sometimes.
Okay, thank you so much. And now, Natalie, the opportunity that we've been waiting for to just hear about you. What do you do? You know, what are you currently doing in your beautiful book, and all this confidence and energy that you have gained to just come and live your life and be the woman that you are. It's just awesome. I just want to say thank you, and I take off my hat to you, because sitting here with you for me is like there is tomorrow. So thank you.
You're welcome. You know, I think I really want to talk about the journey to self-confidence, because when I was, when I was a girl, I was very timid. I was very shy, mainly because there's so much that I was very protected. I couldn't go outdoors if it was hot. There were so many things I was told I couldn't do, and there were of course things with albinism, with the vision, not having excellent vision, that I couldn't see.
Right.
So I just didn't have a lot of confidence, and I experienced bullying in school, and it was only when I left home to go to university that began to change,
Okay.
And for me, it was being able to create a clean slate, like to start fresh,
Right.
And I was able to choose, like, how do I want to be? Do I want to be afraid in the world? Or do I want to thrive and be able to celebrate myself in the world? Those are big questions. Those are really big questions, and nothing changes overnight. And so I learned to I learned to continue to take risks. I knew that I was a writer, and I knew I would go to salons where people would write and showcase their writing and read, and I would just do that even though I was terrified,
Okay.
So that helped me to develop a sense of confidence, and it was, with that also came to the idea that I have to be comfortable in my skin, that my albinism was never going to change.
So Natalie, when you were born, was there, and where was the nurse, the doctors in America, was it a bit of more informed situation, or was it a shock? The reason I'm asking, because I've had guests on my show who have had different experiences at the hospital. So in America, you were born, what was the story?
Oh, I was definitely a shock.
Okay.
I was, when I was born, there was very little known about albinism.
Right.
And so there was a lot of confusion. And no one had ever seen someone with albinism.
Beautiful snow baby.
Beautiful snow baby. It took them quite some time. My mother would tell me stories when she was still living about how they didn't bring me to her straight away, that they were checking me out and doing tests and everything about that. And even then, because of the time that it was, there were even questions like, well, why is this child white, and was her husband white, and so there were all those questions.
Right.
Mainly because there was ignorance. They just had no knowledge.
Oh, had that snow baby in that hospital particularly? Was
Exactly.
The first experience.
First experience.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And okay, we can go back to your career, right?
Yeah. Yes. So I was a child who liked to read stories, and I would write my own stories, and I knew that I wanted someday to be able to write a book.
Right.
And this book in particular, Black Girl, White Skin, A Life in Stories, I would say it really took about 8 years to write.
I can imagine. Talking about the book, everybody, wherever you are, where is this book accessible?
Oh, the book is accessible online through all the platforms, through Amazon and Google and Apple Books as well, both in a digital book as well as in a physical book.
Wow, and I had the opportunity to have mine in large print, in case. And she'll be making audio soon, someday for us.
So I actually would like to talk about when I wrote the book, after I'd written the book and was going through the process of the publishing piece of it, I knew that I wanted to have a large print edition.
Right.
Because I'm a big part of the albinism community, both in the United States and I travel to other parts of the world, so I wanted a book that I could read and that other people with albinism could read,
Definitely.
and something that would be accessible to us.
Definitely. I can see that without my glasses on.
See, isn't that amazing?
Amazing. So, would you like to share more about the book to us? What's in the book?
Sure.
What to expect?
So this book is a memoir, so I chose to create it in the form of short stories because when I started writing the book, it was really about realizing that I had so many stories and how could I share more of those within the book with the world.
Right. Is it stories about you only or?
Well, stories about my experience, what it is to have been me. And so the first story is actually called One Child, and that is the story of my birth.
Okay.
And it's the story of just all the complexities around my birth and the family dynamics with that. And there's a short story called Life at School that really encompasses the experience in terms of education, and not just the academic piece part, but more so the social part as well.
Right.
Because school is as much social as it is academic.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's the one place I couldn't stand. Now it's the one place I have to go back and just fix a lot of things.
But now the best part is now you're a woman, so you can deal with that differently.
Yes.
So that's what I would say is you have so much more wisdom and experience that you can be your own advocate and say, this is what I need to be successful.
Definitely.
So, and so so those are two of the stories that are in the book. There are a variety of different pieces. Some of it covers the activism. Like in 2015, I had the joy of going to Dar es Salaam to attend the Pan-African Albinism Conference.
Okay.
And I was the only Westerner there from the United States with albinism. Wow. It was huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So every story in this book is particularly about you, but it's got different
Characters, different types of experiences in it, because life is very multi-layered. So it wouldn't be like, oh, I did this today or I did that the next day. It's really about this is a time or a period in my life and I want to share about that part.
Okay. Did you experience any discrimination growing up? Any bullying? In terms of albinism?
Lots of bullying.
Lots of bullying.
Lots of bullying. Mainly in, not so much in primary school, but in what we call junior high school, and in high school.
Okay.
And mainly because it was a time where I lived where there was a lot of, what's the word I'm going to use for it? A lot of difficulties around race politics.
Okay.
And so have you heard of the Black Panther movement?
I have heard of the Black Panther movie. But
Of course, everybody heard that movie is great. But there's a whole period of time where the Black Panthers, who were an amazing group of people who did really powerful, amazing work within the United States, in particular within Oakland in California. And there was a lot of difficulties, and it was a time of raising up, of saying, we will not be discriminated against as Black people. We have rights. And so it was post Martin Luther King, and it was a time of being able to claim who we are and our role in society. And so this was still going on in the 1970s. And so I attended a school that was fairly racially mixed, but there was a lot of tension.
Right.
And because people would just, there was one day in particular where
White.
they assumed that I was white, and I was terribly, I was attacked. And it was a very frightening experience.
You were attacked
By other students
from the
from the school.
say in this case black students.
Black students.
Okay, coming off you as you are white,
Right.
not that you have albinism, which is also something they would actually do still.
Right. Exactly.
Wow. That's, I don't even know what to say. And, okay, please continue. I'm just trying to digest everything.
And so it was a very frightening experience. I was injured. My parents had to physically attacked.
You are white, and didn't you tell them I'm
Yes.
not white?
Yes, of
I'm
course.
actually black?
Yes, of course.
But
They didn't
believe it.
really believe it or want to hear that. And I just didn't understand, you know. And so I was, as I said, that was a terrifying experience. You know, physical wounds heal fairly quickly, but it's really the emotional wounds that take so much longer to heal. And sometimes they don't heal at all. You know?
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Well, we talk about that. I don't know that part that they don't heal at home, but that's something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it took quite some time for me to you know, I did return to school, of course, and I was very nervous and anxious, and it took, you know, teachers were aware of what had occurred, and everyone sort of looked out for me, but it took a really long time for me to begin to feel comfortable again.
Were there other original white people in the school?
Yes,
And during the attack?
many of them were attacked as well.
Okay, all right.
So it's it was a very difficult time. When I said that was probably of my education, that was the most difficult period of being in junior high school. You know, some of the bullying I received when I was in high school was mainly in the first year that I was there, but I had an older brother who was also at the school, and he intervened on my behalf.
Oh, wow, he's caught. I mean, he's black, of course.
Yes,
Okay.
and he's very dark.
Okay.
You know, so and he would just tell people, "This is my sister. You bother her, you bother me."
Oh, wow. Okay.
So after that, then, you know, I slowly began to form some friendships and became involved with other activities at school, and so things began to shift, you know.
Okay.
So when I left home and I had an opportunity to choose how I was going to live my life, you know, I still had so much trauma, you know, just emotional trauma of having been sexually molested, that I ended up going to see a counselor. And you know, when you do that, you're not sure if this is going to be the right person for you or anything like that, and so it was a big risk. For me, it was the best decision I made, because it was someone who had expertise with dealing with people who had experienced sexual trauma, and I worked with the counselor for a few years, and for about 4 years, and then I felt like, okay, I felt more whole again, like I wasn't fractured into different pieces. I had learned by that time to love myself, you know, to understand that what happened to me as a child, one, it was not appropriate, it was not right, it was wrong. And two, that I was no longer that child. You know, that I, that I had emerged from that, and that I could be, the person I wanted to be. And there's a lot I had to learn. Like I had to relearn, like how to feel comfortable with my body, how to feel like I could be intimate with someone and share myself with them and not have memories of my past, to feel that I could do that as by my willing choice, and to have joy with it, And during the time when I was doing that work, I was journaling about it, and those journals that journaling really helped me to go back and remember all those things I had gone through, and to write them down, and as a way of processing the grief and the pain to get to the other side of it.
Okay, wow, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
You said, what type of traumas did you experience? What type of side effects did you experience from the sexual encounters, the molestation? As you left home, or did things that happening to you that you didn't know how to explain? How did you know you were going through trauma, and what were those traumas?
Well, let's see. Well, I'd say that, I knew it wasn't right what my grandfather was doing to me. Because he was molesting me whenever he could. So I knew that was wrong. I told my mother, and again, she didn't believe me. So I felt, part of me felt like she had just thrown me to the wolves.
I just want to clear something. Does molestation mean just being touched inappropriately, or does it also include sexual intercourse?
Both. And he sexually molested me for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. And during that time, and this is in the book, so it's not particularly a spoiler, that I became pregnant, and I had an abortion, and it was the right thing to do. I didn't necessarily at that time, I was so confused and had so many emotions, and that I didn't really understand everything that was going on. Honestly, I didn't even have a choice. The choice was made for me to have an abortion. And it was really only later, like a few years later, that I could just say, that was really the right choice. I would not have wanted to bring another child into the world from him. So that's the kind of trauma I'm talking about. Those are the, and he was the kind of man that he would, I wasn't a person to him. I was simply an object, and an object for his gratification, And so it was only after I left home and was away at university that I began to realize, like, oh, I don't have to endure this any longer. I don't have to go through this any longer. And I remember going home for the holidays after my first term of school, and he tried to, he cornered me and tried to just tried to molest me again, and I told him no, and it was the first time ever I had said no. And I remember I was shaking inside, just the terror of being able to say no and not knowing what would happen, And not only did I say no, I said this will never happen again, and if it does, if you ever try this again, I will contact the authorities. And it never happened again. But again, I was still terrified, and I remember that night sleeping in a room and barricading the door because I didn't know if I would be safe.
Okay.
So to emerge from that degree of trauma, and to at 21 I realized I needed to have some counseling.
What were you experiencing at 21 that you had to go seek for counseling?
I remember feeling like I was scared all the time. And I didn't like being afraid, in a constant state of fear. I was terrified of men, and I realized I clearly needed to do something about that. And I just had, someone actually said to me, maybe you should go get some counseling, and I had to think about that for a while,
Because you couldn't trust anybody to help you or think they would understand what you were
Exactly.
going through.
Exactly.
Could you explain to yourself what you were going through? Could you identify what you were feeling, or it was also strange to you?
Well, some of it was really strange, and I had just so much, I felt so fractured and in so many different pieces and so much damage that I didn't even always have the language to say, this is what it is. I couldn't even say the words that I had been molested. I couldn't even say those words at first. And it took quite some time for me to be able to just say, this is what happened to me.
And you mentioned about being uncomfortable with your body.
Yes.
What was happening? Uncomfortable in what way?
Our bodies are muscles, basically, And so I had, having been raped repeatedly, having been molested repeatedly, I had shame about how my body responded. And it took, honestly, going to counseling to realize that the body is a muscle and the body's going to do what it's going to do. And it doesn't mean that I did it willingly. It doesn't mean that I liked being molested. It doesn't mean any of those things. What it means is that we don't get to control our bodies in the midst of sexual trauma. And so that's what was going on for me too.
Okay. It took about 4 years for the counseling itself.
Yeah.
And was it supposed to take that long, or what you were going through took that long?
I think actually everything I was going through took that long. It's one of those things. I don't know that there's a amount of time that is supposed to be like, oh, you should be done with this by this time. I don't know that we can say that, but I know that that's what it took for me. Because of course, what happens when you embark on counseling, you might say, oh, I'm going in, but in my case, I went in to deal with the sexual trauma, but that also led me into dealing with the parts of my own identity about albinism and how I felt about that, and how I felt about being who I am and in my skin, and how I felt also about how I felt about you know, who I wanted to love and and my sexuality and being comfortable with that and whether or not I would be accepted by my family with those choices that I made. And so, so there were so many other things that emerged.
Natalie, wow, thank you for sharing everything. So I wanted to know personally, and also for my viewers out there, because we talked about sexual molestation, and I've been sexually molested twice. Not actually, a lot of the time as a child, but I was raped twice with 2 encounters. I remember like they were yesterdays. And I have been having certain effects or side effects or emotions that I cannot identify. And sometimes it makes me think that something is wrong with me. So I wanted to know from not just your experience, but the fact that you've had this journey, you've been able to go for counseling, you've come to a point where you can talk to me and say, girl, I got you. I wanted to know, do all rape victims go through different emotional experiences or bad side effects that they are unaware of? And do they all come at the same time? Because I never had effects as a child, but now as a grown woman, I'm getting to have this like sad experiences or bad memories. But basically I wanted to know from your side, do we go through that? If somebody out there has been raped and they feel ashamed of their body, they feel shy, they're always scared when they see other women half naked, they get scared. Are those things, like, can you relate to that? Do you know what we're going through, or it's different for each person?
Well, honestly, I would say it's likely to be different for each person. I mean, there's no, we can't say, none of us are going to have the same experience. And I think especially with things that happen, memory shows up frequently when you least expect it, at least for me. Things, and it's about having to recognize and say, okay, this happened, and to be honest with yourself, to say, yes, this did happen, and to figure out how to best to deal with all those fears and emotions, and like I said, everybody deals with it differently.
Okay. Everybody deals with it differently. Don't think you're crazy if you think you've got certain side effects or traumas or flashbacks that are affecting you right now and you think it's you. It's not. So you have a chance to go out and get this book, Black Girl, White Skin. It's not just about albinism. As you see, rape happens to a lot of us regardless of the color of your skin. You need to read this book. So we've come to the end of the show. Very sad for me because I wanted to go on and talk forever. Natalie DeVore from the United States of America on My Voice. I just had to say that. Please, please, please. A young girl, young boy, little child, mother, father, the world is watching and they want to hear your voice. What advice do you have for them right now?
My advice, I would say, is to always know that you get to determine who you are and your story in the world. We all go through different things, and we all have things in our lives or experiences that shape us. And it's up to us to figure out how to process those emotions. And some of us are going to do it through form of counseling, some of it through talking to friends. Some of us will do it through showcasing it through our art. I chose to write. You get to be the captain of your destiny and determine how to be in the world.
Thank you. So Natalie, is there any way the people out there can get hold of you? Are you allowed to do that? Do you speak to people directly? Or can they just go look for the book?
You can find me on social media. I'm you can also always Google my name, Natalie DeVore. Everything will show up. I am on Facebook as Natalie DeVore, as well as an author page. I'm on Twitter as Fair Skin Brown Girl. And I'm also on Instagram as Black Girl White Skin.
Different titles everywhere.
I know.
We've come to the end of the episode, and we are happy to have you all the time tuning in, watching, writing to us, and sending us messages. As for me, Regina Mary, with this beautiful, beautiful Natalie inspiration and your role model, we are here to say goodbye.
Bye.
Natalie owes us to read from this book, but she didn't, so you have to go get it and find it. But I got my copy, and it's in large print, so don't stress about it. Bye.
You discriminate, I'm coming in. You think I'm human.